In just one video, witness the full journey of America, from native civilizations and European explorers to independence, Civil War, world wars, superpower rivalry, and the digital age. Welcome to History Unlock, where we open the doors to the world's greatest civilizations. Today, we unlock the complete history of the United States of America, a story of ancient native cultures, colonization, revolution, civil war, global power, and modern transformation. From the first settlers who walked this land thousands of years ago, to the rise of the world's most influential nation, this is the entire history of the USA unlocked. As we journey through time, we arrive at the momentous signing of the Declaration of Independence, where our founding fathers laid the groundwork for a new nation. The stakes rise sharply during the American Civil War, a conflict that tested the very fabric of the United States as brave soldiers fought for their beliefs on blood-soaked fields. Long before the United States existed, the continent was home to millions of indigenous people. The earliest settlers crossed the Bering Land Bridge around 15,000 years ago, spreading across North America. Over time, diverse civilizations emerged, from the mound-building Mississippians in the east to the advanced Pueblo cultures in the southwest. These societies developed farming trade networks, astronomy, and cities like Cahokia, which was larger than medieval London. Native tribes such as the Apache, Sioux, Iroquois, Cherokee, and Navajo formed strong cultures with unique languages and traditions. Their deep connection with nature shaped the continent long before European arrival. These early inhabitants left behind a legacy of innovation and resilience imprinted in the land and echoed through generations. As they thrived, their stories and traditions became woven into the very fabric of the continent, creating a rich heritage that persists to this day. Each tribe adapted uniquely to its environment, cultivating traditions that honored both their ancestors and the life around them. In the late 1400s, European powers began exploring the Americas, a time marked by adventure and discovery that altered the course of history. Spain arrived first, exploring Florida and the Southwest, where they established missions and laid claims to vast territories. English explorers landed on the Atlantic coast, marking the beginning of future colonies that would reshape the landscape of North America. Native populations suffered massive decline due to disease, warfare, and displacement, leading to profound changes within their communities. The early encounters set the stage for competition among European empires, each seeking land wealth and power in this uncharted territory. By the early 1600s, England became the dominant colonial force in the region, laying the groundwork for a powerful presence in North America. As English colonies flourished, they began establishing their own governance and community structures, paving the way for a new chapter in American history. With each passing year, the colonies grew not only in number, but also in complexity, as settlers forged new identities and aspirations in this vast land. England established permanent settlements like Jamestown in 1607 and Plymouth in 1620, gradually expanding into 13 colonies that would shape the future of America. Colonists built towns, farms, and trade networks, creating a diverse economy, with New England becoming a hub for fishing, shipbuilding, and religion. The southern colonies thrived on cash crops like tobacco and cotton, while tensions grew among the colonists over issues of taxes, land, and governance. As Native Americans resisted the expansion of colonists' conflicts, like King Philip's War, erupted, highlighting the growing unrest at the mid-1700s. By the mid-1700s, the colonies had developed unique identities that reflected their diverse cultures and economies, yet they also shared increasing frustration with British rule. As their identities emerged, colonists began to unite over shared grievances, leading to clandestine meetings and increased whispers of rebellion against British authority. Acts of rebellion like the Boston Tea Party signified the colonists' growing anger towards British taxation, while women played a crucial role in supporting these revolutionary efforts. After the costly French and Indian War, Britain imposed harsh taxes on the American colonies, igniting fury among the colonists. Acts like the Stamp Tax and Tea Act provoked protests and boycotts, leading to significant events, such as the Boston Tea Party. Colonial leaders like George Washington, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin rallied for their rights, claiming representation was essential. Meanwhile, Britain responded with severe laws, leading to mounting tensions that would soon boil over. As tensions escalated, the Continental Congress was formed to unite the colonies in their struggle. By 1775, the first shots of the American Revolution rang out at Lexington and Concord, marking the start of a fierce fight for independence. The clash at Lexington and Concord ignited a flame of rebellion as colonists rallied under the banners of freedom and independence. The struggle that followed would unite them in an unwavering quest for liberty. The momentum for revolution grew stronger as colonists drafted the Declaration of Independence, declaring their rights and aspirations. With every battle fought, their commitment to freedom deepened, uniting them in a shared vision of a new nation. The colonies engaged in a fierce struggle against the might of the British Empire, with George Washington at the helm of the Continental Army, facing harsh winters and significant shortages. Key moments like the battles at Saratoga and Yorktown marked turning points in this quest for independence, bolstered by essential support from France. Throughout the conflict, women, enslaved individuals, and native tribes played intricate roles that shaped the course of history. In 1783, the Treaty of Paris officially acknowledged the United States as a sovereign nation, signaling not just the end of British dominion, but also igniting global aspirations for freedom. Yet the new nation grappled with the daunting tasks of forging a functional government and confronting the issues surrounding slavery and westward expansion. In the aftermath of the Revolution, the fledgling nation convened its leaders to establish a government that would uphold the principles of liberty and justice. Delegates to the Continental Congress engaged in fervent discussions, navigating the complexities of creating a constitution. Meanwhile, a wave of pioneers set out across the vast lands to the west, driven by the promise of opportunity, but faced with the trials of the unknown. As the United States shaped its identity, questions about slavery and the rights of various communities loomed large, suggesting that the fight for true equality was far from over. After gaining independence, the new United States faced significant challenges in establishing stability. The Articles of Confederation were found to be too weak, prompting the call for the Constitutional Convention in 1787. At this pivotal gathering, the U.S. Constitution was drafted, creating a more robust federal government structured around 3 branches to ensure a balance of power. George Washington assumed the presidency, setting precedents for future leaders, while warning against political factions that could divide the nation. During this era, the nation grappled with contentious debates surrounding slavery and continued conflicts with Native Americans, revealing the complexities that shaped the young republic. Despite these challenges, the foundation of American democracy was laid, setting the stage for the political structure that continues to define the nation today. As these foundational elements took root, citizens began to embrace their roles in shaping a democratic society, fostering ideals of liberty and justice for all. In 1803, the United States doubled its size through the Louisiana Purchase from France. Explorers Lewis and Clark were sent to map the new territory, encountering indigenous nations along the way. Americans began pushing west, guided by the belief in manifest destiny, the idea that the U.S. was destined to expand across the continent. While expansion brought new opportunities, it also intensified conflicts with native tribes and debates over slavery in new states. The War of 1812 against Britain further tested the young nation, but strengthened its national identity. The expansion reshaped the American spirit, weaving together different cultures and aspirations as the nation forged its future. As the United States expanded, countless lives were transformed by the promise of adventure, opportunity, and new beginnings. The journey along trails like the Oregon Trail became emblematic of the American quest for expansion, filled with both hardships and triumphs. The expansion not only transformed the landscape, but also created a rich tapestry of interactions between settlers and indigenous peoples, marked by both conflict and moments of dialogue. Andrew Jackson's presidency from 1829 to 1837 signified a remarkable change in the political landscape, with more white men participating actively in politics. Yet it was also marked by devastating policies against Native Americans, exemplified through the Trail of Tears, which forcibly displaced thousands of Cherokee and other tribes. During this time, America witnessed rapid economic growth, driven by canals, railroads, and industrial advancements, while reform movements gained momentum. advocating for women's rights, improved labor conditions, and the abolition of slavery, reflecting a nation that was expanding swiftly, yet becoming increasingly divided over the critical issues of freedom and human rights. As the electorate expanded, public gatherings became lively, as men exercised their voting rights in newly established polling stations. Meanwhile, the fervor for reform grew stronger, with women and laborers uniting in powerful marches, calling for equal rights and better working conditions, symbolizing the emerging movements that sought to challenge the status quo and reshape the nation's future. By the mid-1800s, slavery had become the central issue dividing America. The North moved toward industry and abolition, while the South depended heavily on slave labor for cotton production. Events like the Fugitive Slave Act, the Dred Scott decision, and violent clashes in Bleeding Kansas deepened the divide. Powerful voices, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, and Abraham Lincoln, fought to end slavery. As tension reached a breaking point, the election of Lincoln in 1860 pushed Southern states to secede, forming the Confederacy. The nation was now headed toward its deadliest conflict. The air was thick with uncertainty as both sides prepared for a confrontation. Abolitionists rallied, inspired by leaders like Frederick Douglass, who spoke passionately against the injustices of slavery. Meanwhile, Southern states fortified their defenses, preparing to protect their way of life at all costs. The Underground Railroad became a beacon of hope for many seeking freedom, with brave individuals risking everything to guide others to safety. As tensions escalated, both North and South braced for the impending storm that would change the nation forever. The Civil War erupted between the Union and the Confederacy, marking a tumultuous period from 1861 to 1865, filled with unimaginable struggle and sacrifice. Battles at Gettysburg, Antietam, and Shiloh claimed enormous casualties, each one leaving a deep scar on the American landscape and its people. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation declared enslaved people in Confederate states free, transforming the conflict into a fight for liberation and justice. In 1865, the Union prevailed, abolishing slavery, but the nation was left deeply scarred and divided, grappling with the cost of its hard-won unity. The war left the South in ruins, and the nation struggling to come to terms with its past. Yet it succeeded in preserving the United States as one unified country. In the aftermath, the United States faced the daunting task of rebuilding and reconciling a divided society forever changed by the Civil War. The legacy of the Civil War continued to shape the nation as it navigated the complexities of Reconstruction, striving for a future built on equality and justice. After the Civil War, the United States entered the difficult period known as Reconstruction. The federal government aimed to rebuild the South, protect freed African Americans, and reunite the nation. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments abolished slavery and granted citizenship and voting rights to formerly enslaved people. However, Southern states resisted, leading to violent groups like the Ku Klux Klan and unfair laws that limited black freedom. Though African Americans made political gains, federal support weakened over time. By 1877, Reconstruction ended and segregation spread across the South. The nation healed politically, but deep racial divisions remained unresolved. As African Americans celebrated their right to vote, they faced intimidation and violence from groups determined to maintain white supremacy. The Ku Klux Klan emerged as a significant threat, using terror tactics to undermine the political progress made during Reconstruction. Despite these challenges, courageous individuals fought for equality and justice, leading to significant social changes. Yet as federal troops withdrew from the South state governments, enacted laws that effectively reversed many of the gains achieved. The Reconstruction era concluded not with a resolution, but with lingering tensions that would shape the future of race relations in America. The late 1800s transformed the United States into an industrial powerhouse. Advances in steel railroads, electricity, and oil created enormous economic growth. Business giants like Rockefeller, Carnegie, and J.P. Morgan built massive corporations, while millions of immigrants arrived seeking opportunity. Cities expanded rapidly, but poverty, child labor, and unsafe working conditions led to strikes and demands for reform. Inventions such as the telephone light bulb and automobile reshaped daily life. This era also saw the closing of the American frontier, symbolized by the defeat of the last native resistance at Wounded Knee in 1890. America was becoming a modern urban industrial nation. As the industrial age unfolded, communities flourished, and the American dream beckoned to many promising opportunity and prosperity. Yet beneath the surface of prosperity lay the harsh realities of labor exploitation and the struggle for workers' rights. Amidst these challenges, movements began to rise, uniting voices for justice and demanding change in the face of adversity. By the late 19th century, the United States looked beyond its borders. Influenced by ideas of economic growth and global power, America expanded into the Pacific and the Caribbean. In 1898, the Spanish-American War erupted after tensions over Cuba's independence. The US defeated Spain, quickly gaining control of Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines, and influencing Cuba. This marked the birth of the American Empire and the country's emergence as a world power. With new territories, a stronger navy, and growing influence in Asia and Latin America, the United States stepped onto the global stage with confidence. As newfound territories opened doors to economic opportunities and strategic military positions, the United States began to reshape its identity on the world stage. With each new acquisition, debates over imperialism intensified within the nation, creating a complex landscape of loyalty, resistance, and opportunity for both Americans and the newly acquired citizens. Between 1900 and 1917, the Progressive Era ignited significant political and social upheaval as reformers united against corruption, unsafe working conditions, and unfair business practices. President Theodore Roosevelt emerged as a key figure during this time, fervently battling monopolies and championing the protection of natural resources while overseeing the monumental building of the Panama Canal. As new laws were enacted to improve food safety, labor rights, and public health, America saw a peak in immigration which brought a rich array of cultures and traditions to its cities. Despite the advancements made during the Progressive Era, the shadow of racial segregation remained pervasive as Jim Crow laws upheld systemic inequality and injustice throughout the nation. While America raced toward modernization, the struggle against deep-seated inequality and injustice continued as reformers and everyday citizens wrestled with the contradictions of progress. In this climate of change, grassroots movements flourished as communities came together to share their experiences and advocate for a future free from inequality, yearning for justice and true representation. In 1917, the United States entered World War I, helping the Allies defeat Germany, and after the war, America experienced an economic boom known as the Roaring Twenties. Jazz music, Hollywood films, radios, and automobiles defined a new modern culture as women gained the right to vote. Businesses expanded and cities grew rapidly, but beneath the excitement were weaknesses, like rising debt, inequality, and overproduction. In 1929, the stock market crashed, triggering the Great Depression as millions lost jobs, banks failed, and poverty spread across the country. This event marked the end of the spirit of the Roaring Decade, as the excitement gave way to challenging times filled with hardship. As the country faced unprecedented challenges, people came together to seek solutions and rebuild their lives in the wake of calamity. In the face of adversity, communities rallied to support one another, showcasing resilience and hope for a brighter future. Even during dark times, people found strength in unity and expression, forging ahead with a belief in a more hopeful tomorrow. The 1930s were the hardest economic era in American history. Unemployment soared, farms collapsed due to drought, and families struggled to survive. President Franklin D. Roosevelt introduced the New Deal, a series of programs to create jobs, support farmers, and stabilize the economy. Social Security was established, providing retirement benefits. New Deal policies built roads, dams, bridges, and schools, transforming America's infrastructure. Although the Depression didn't fully end until World War II, Roosevelt restored hope and reshaped the relationship between the government and the people, expanding the federal government's role in economic life. The New Deal not only aimed to alleviate immediate suffering, but also sought to create a foundation for long-term stability, reflecting Roosevelt's vision for a more secure America. Over time, the New Deal began to transform the American economic landscape, fostering resilience in communities and renewing faith in the government as a partner in prosperity. When World War II began, the US remained neutral until Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in 1941. America then mobilized its full industrial power, producing weapons ships and aircraft at unprecedented scale. US forces fought across Europe and the Pacific, helping defeat Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. The war ended with the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. After 1945, the United States emerged as one of the two global superpowers, leading the creation of the United Nations and shaping the New World Order. The war also transformed society at home, boosting the economy and expanding civil rights activism. The legacy of World War II not only solidified America's status as a superpower, but also set the stage for significant social changes that would define future generations. The alliances formed and the lessons learned during the war reshaped international relations and laid the groundwork for America's future leadership role. The aftermath of World War II also saw the United States investing in global reconstruction efforts, promoting peace while recovering from its own sacrifices. The United States and the Soviet Union found themselves embroiled in a prolonged geopolitical rivalry known as the Cold War, where America championed democracy and capitalism, while the USSR was intent on spreading communism. This era witnessed significant events like the Korean War, where soldiers fought under the banners of their nations, and the powerful civil rights movement led by Martin Luther King Jr., striving for equality and justice. The Cuban Missile Crisis escalated tensions dramatically, while the intense space race culminated in the US triumph with the moon landing in 1969, where astronauts made their mark on another celestial body. By the 1980s, a wave of reform movements began to surface in the Soviet Union, indicating cracks in the communist structure, leading to monumental events like the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. The collapse of the USSR in 1991 marked the definitive end of the Cold War, with Boris Yeltsin emerging as a key figure in the struggle for democracy, symbolizing a new era for the post-Soviet states. After the Cold War, the United States became the world's most influential nation. The 1990s saw technological revolutions, the internet, personal computers, and mobile phones. Silicon Valley became the center of global innovation. The US led international diplomacy, trade, and military alliances. However, new challenges emerged, including economic shifts, political divisions, and globalization. The nation also saw cultural growth through movies, music, and technology that shaped global trends. By the early 2000s, America stood at the peak of global power. But the world was about to change again. As the digital age progressed, new powers began to rise, challenging the long-standing dominance of the United States on the world stage. With the emergence of new technologies and shifting alliances, the landscape of global leadership became more complex, necessitating adaptive strategies and collaboration. In this new era, the ability to navigate challenges such as cybersecurity threats and climate change became paramount for maintaining global influence. On September 11, 2001, attacks on the World Trade Center and Pentagon shocked the world. The US launched the War on Terror, leading to conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. At home, security increased and society became more politically divided. The 2008 financial crisis brought economic challenges, but the nation recovered through reforms and innovation. Social movements for equality, technology expansion, and cultural diversity shaped modern America. Today, the United States remains a global superpower, leading in science, entertainment, technology, and defense, while continuing to face debates over democracy, identity, and its future in a rapidly changing world. The fabric of American society remains intertwined with discussions that shape its present and future. As people reflect on history, they continue to drive progress through innovation and community engagement. In everyday life, Americans maintain connections while pushing for changes that will secure a better future. Education and innovation play crucial roles in preparing the next generation for the challenges ahead. From ancient beginnings to modern power, we've unlocked the incredible journey of the United States together. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, make sure to like the video, share it with others, and subscribe to History Unlock, where the past comes alive, one country at a time. Your support helps us continue unlocking the world's greatest stories. See you in the next chapter of history. As we continue our exploration, we encounter pivotal moments that define America's transformation. Witnessing the struggles, triumphs, and the people who shaped this great nation brings history to life. Join us as we uncover more secrets hidden in the pages of time. Every chapter reveals the courage and vision of those who sought freedom and equality. From the signing of documents that changed the course of history to the cultural celebrations that unite us today, each story is a thread in the fabric of our nation. The fight for civil rights echoes through the ages, reminding us of the ongoing quest for justice and fairness. In today's classrooms, young minds are inspired to learn from the past and envision a future where every voice is heard.